Russell Wilson said his piece to Dan Patrick back in February. His agent said his piece, specifically Russell Wilson wants to stay with the Seahawks, but if he were to be traded, he would accept trade to the Bears, Saints, Raiders, and Cowboys. We haven't heard anything more since then. It's died down. Pete Carroll called it old news last week, appearing with Rich Eisen. But I still think it's something to keep an eye on because as of Wednesday, June 2, the cap charge for trading Russell Wilson plummets from $39 million to $13 million. And you can't rule out the possibility, in my view, because we've seen these crazy trades come out of nowhere before, where everyone's kept their mouths shut until it happens. I can't rule out the possibility that someone is waiting and lurking and ready to make the Seahawks an offer they won't refuse for Russell Wilson come June 2. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I would bet against it, but I can't say it's an impossibility.
Mike, there's two teams out there that interest me right now about their future quarterback plans for a couple of reasons. And I'll tell you my two teams. One is the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper being the wild card owner, he's made it very clear. Tepper reminds me of what Stephen Ross was like over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And that is, we are going to move heaven and earth and do whatever it takes to get our quarterback of the future. You know, they thought they might have had him with Ryan Tannehill. They didn't. And so then they moved heaven and earth. They took Tua Tagovailoa after failing to be able to trade up to get Joe Burrow. So you know how aggressive an owner can be inside an organization to push. Now you go to the Carolina Panthers. David Tepper has proven that he's exactly that same way. You overpay for Teddy Bridgewater 1 year, and then the next year we're getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater. We'll take the cap consequences of it. And then after that, you sign Sam Darnold, you trade for Sam Darnold, and you kind of trade for him, but in a very tepid way. He's your guy. You don't guarantee that he's your guy by trading a 2, a 4, and a 6 for him. But I do think that is one team that if a quarterback opens up in the middle of this year, the Carolina Panthers would be very aggressive to try to go get him. The other team is the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see the Eagles doing something before giving Jalen Hurts a shot this year, especially because the Eagles are what I would call in a classic kind of rebuilding, retooling year. And they sit there with probably three number ones next year. And I've always viewed this as the Philadelphia Eagles are going to see how Jalen Hurts does. And if he pulls a Dak Prescott and shocks the world as Prescott did in 2016, not even allowing Tony Romo the ability to get his job back when he was healthy, if Jalen Hurts plays at a very high level, throws for 4,300 yards, the Eagles win 11 games, well, he's going to be their quarterback next year. But most of us feel that probably isn't going to happen. Now, both of those teams, I think, are going to be very active in the quarterback market starting next February. But you never know, based on their recent histories and the aggressiveness of their, in one case, an owner. We don't really know Scott Fitterer's, ethos yet about how aggressive he'd be. He's the new Carolina GM. But we know about Howie Roseman, and he never met a trade he didn't like. So those are the two teams I would watch out for. But I agree with you. Russell Wilson, I think, is the far bigger likelihood that he quarterbacks the Seattle Seahawks this year. And then after the year, we see where they are.
And if the Seahawks have resigned themselves to the reality that at some point Russell Wilson is going to have the next phase of his career with a new team, and he's not going to sign another contract, they're not going to want to sign him to another contract because he's going to want $50 million a year, and they don't view him as that kind of guy that's always going to be top of the market, top of the market, top of the market. The door is open for someone, I believe, to get their attention now. If they can trade back a quarterback that helps the Seahawks get through this year and maybe another year, that's the key, Peter. And look, we don't know whether or not Russell Wilson would welcome a trade to the Panthers or the Eagles. He's got that no-trade clause. I think that his agent, Mark Rodgers, was holding some teams in his back pocket when he identified 4. But the Raiders are still out there. And I know they're saying all the right things about Derek Carr. But if you're John Gruden, how do you not at least ponder the possibilities some morning when you're in your office at 3:50, 5 minutes after you get there, you made your cup of coffee, you're thinking about Derek Carr, you're thinking about Russell Wilson. What if you throw a package together with Derek Carr plus whatever else it would take? I just can't say it's impossible at this point because the window's there. It's cracked slightly still. And if I'm John Gruden, I'm thinking this may be my only chance to get this guy because next year there's going to be others who are hovering. Maybe this is the time we do the big thing, the big move, the dramatic thing that takes this franchise to a new level.
I mean, maybe. I just think at this point there's so many other fish to fry in that organization. There's so many other things that you really need a lot more than quarterback. And I understand, I've always said this, that John Gruden's favorite quarterback is the one he doesn't have. And, so I get the fact that he might look at Russell Wilson and say, oh my God, imagine how great we would be if we had him. I don't see them moving heaven and earth to get Russell Wilson. Now, who knows? Probably, they'll trade for him next week. I think the much more likely candidates at some point would be number one, Carolina. And again, look, maybe, and number two, Philly. But maybe, underline this, that, if John Schneider does decide to move him, he's going to move him to an AFC team because he doesn't want to face him every year or more often, clearly. But, we'll see. I just think it's, at this point, I think it's highly unlikely he moves this year.
Hey, and plenty of people are still saying watch Miami as a Deshaun Watson destination. If they would be in play for Deshaun Watson, why would they not at least kick the tires on Russell Wilson? Again, we don't know that he'd want to go to Miami. But if he did, you could make the argument that Russell Wilson would be the better fit, the better long-term quarterback for the Dolphins than Deshaun Watson would be. And it's just we can't shut doors and say that's never going to happen, that's never going to happen. The NFL is too crazy for us to foreclose those possibilities, and we've seen these things occur.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.